This programme is the Petro-Canada Lubricants Porsche Club Championship with Pirelli. A very warm welcome to Brands Hatch for races 3 and 4 of the 2019 Petro-Canada Lubricants Porsche Club Championship with Pirelli. The racing today, a double header on the Grand Prix circuit here at Brands Hatch, including the classic Restoracing Championship, which also embarks on rounds 3 and 4. Before we do any more though, let's take a look back at event 1 at Donington Park. A sun-bathed Donington Park, the venue for the opening round of the season, and it was Pistol Pete Morris who shot away from the grid into the lead for race number 1. His son Ross doing the business in Class 2. Former champion Mark McAleer initially running in second ahead of Steve Cheetham. Great battle in Class 2 as ever, but former champion Mark McAleer was a retirement as the Morrises respectively led their classes. Superb battle here with Jake McAleer challenging for the lead on Pete Morris on the last lap, but it all went wrong for him. He wound up in third place. Pete Morris taking the win ultimately from Simon Clark. Ross Morris winning Class 2 from Trevor Lewis and Steve Freeman.
Great to bring it home, but the last 5 laps, hard on the brakes, hard on the tyres. It was a handful.
It's not kind of historically a strong circuit for the Cayman here, I don't think. But actually, yeah, the car's just got so much consistency. Like even towards the end of the race, it still feels properly planted. Whereas you can see 911's just moving around a lot.
I got a terrible start off the line. I think I went down to 5th at one point. Left a big gap between me and first place when I eventually got back up to 2nd. So I ended up just chucking it off. Bit of a mistake, and that gifted me the win really.
Race 2 was bathed in sunshine as well. Another great start by Pete Morris, who seems to get it right off the line here. But a dramatic race ensued, and coming through for his first ever outright win, former champion Chris Dyer bags race 2.
Oh, absolutely fantastic start. Just thought, I'm just plugging away at this. I had an awful first race. The car just felt awful in second race because I just conserved my tyres a little bit for the first race. It just paid off with that race. They just were unbelievable. Just a mega amount of grip.
Championship table looks like this. Chris Dyer leads Class 1 from Jake McAleer, just a point behind. A further point behind him is Pete Morris from Steve Cheetham, Simon Clark and Kevin Harrison in 6th. Division 2, no mistaking, Ross Morris 13 points clear of Trevor Lewis from Angus Archer and Steve Freeman. Paul Seagrave is 5th ahead of Richard Bayston. It was also good to welcome back the classic Restoracing Championship at Donington Park. These iconic liveries looking superb in the sunshine. Looking superb too, a star from last year, Ben McLaughlin, who qualified on pole and quickly got into the lead of this race, but was challenged in the early stages by the Pink Pig, the Wolverhampton Porsche Centre car of Will Heslop, and series debut man Matt Bird in the Premier Panels Skills car. Those two had a great battle. It was McLaughlin who came away with the win and fastest lap in race 1. Second position going to Heslop, third position going to Matt Bird in the 35 car after a superb race. So into victory lane come Ben McLaughlin, William Heslop and Matt Bird. Race 2 was equally as entertaining, with McLaughlin once again getting into the early lead. Heslop in second position, up ahead of the 39 of Ollie Coles in the Coca-Cola car initially. But there was a big sort out as the race went on, and a fine scrap again for second position between Matt Bird and Will Heslop. Bird holding sway in the early stages, but an off put paid to a potential podium for him. Out front, McLaughlin continued, despite being heavily ballasted in the car, continued on his way to head for another win, with the 32 car of Will Heslop for Porsche Centre Wolverhampton in second. Alistair Nelson completing the podium.
2 pole positions, 2 race victories, 2 fastest laps, sort of. Not a bad day's work.
Yeah, it's been good, hasn't it? I couldn't ask for more, and the car was better in that race, so really pleased. Safety car as well. The hardest thing was the sun. It was getting lower and lower, and I was having to push myself up in the seat.
2 second place finishes, you can't really grumble with that, can you?
I can't really grumble at that, not at all. Everything's gone as it should do, and they got 2 cracking starts off the line, which obviously helps. And yeah, really enjoyed it all today.
A bit of a battling going on in the first sort of section of the race before the safety car came out, and then after the safety car had gone back in, we had to get our head down, and the Porsche Centre Winslow car came home in 3rd place. Happy days.
The man we heard from, Alistair Nelson, is 3rd in the standings in the Porsche Centre Wilmslow machine. Ben McLaughlin for Bournemouth is top of the table. The Wolverhampton man, William Heslop, is 2nd in the championship, ahead of Carl Hazelton in the Chester machine. Pole position to Simon Clark, with Michael Price alongside. Row 2, Pete Morris. Work to do from the inside of row 2 for Pete. Then Kevin Harrison on the outside of row 2. Class 2 headed by Ross Morris on row 6 of the grid. Trevor Lewis 2nd in Class 2 from Paul Seagrave. A welcome to Alistair Isles to the championship. Good to see Del Brett back with us as well in the 59 car. The Restoracing Championship headed by Ben McLaughlin from Christian Short. Wayne Minogue lining up 3rd on the grid from the Coca-Cola 39 car of Porsche Centre Swindon. That's Ollie Coles. Ollie looking to get his season very much back on track after a retirement in race 2 at Donington Park. Nearly ready to go. Superb field. Immediately ahead of us is Paul Seagrave, and to the row ahead, pole position man Ross Morris in Class 2. But we go back and look at the field, and a little bit slow away was Michael Price. And 42 struggling to get through the gears by the look of it. That's James Birch. So Michael Price, I think, has lost a little bit of ground there, and it was Kevin Harrison who got away well from row 2 on the outside, but Simon Clark, the pole man, absolutely perfect away. So it's Clark, Harrison, Wilkins, Pete Morris, Michael Price, Steve Cheetham in 6th place. They go round Druids for the first time. Time you've called them, they've gone. The Restoracing boys all in proximity as well, as Steve Cheetham chases Mike Price, looks up the inside line as they go along. Cooper straight for the first time, but it's Clark from Harrison on home tarmac this weekend, so he'll have a big strong following, and he's good round here is Kevin Harrison. Steve Freeman busy looking at the moment the back end of Trevor Lewis. Trevor running 2nd in the championship standings in Class 2 to double winner of round number 1, Ross Morris, as the leaders start to sort themselves out. Pete Morris having a look, but in reality a few car lengths away at the moment from Craig Wilkins. Good to see Craig back with us as well. There is James Birch, first race of the season for James, and he moved quickly off the line but just seemed to struggle building momentum. So whether there was a gear problem or not, I don't know. 2 of the Strasser cars running together there in front of James as the leaders come down to complete the first lap in this 25-minute race. We can't say how many laps it will be because there might be a safety car intervention or something like that. The Restoracing boys getting stuck in. Ben McLaughlin is once again at the head of those. Down across the line they go with the 68 car. That's our onboard camera, Steve Freeman. And Steve, as you can see, the interclass racing here with the Restoracing boys having a nibble at some of the drivers in Class 2, and some of the Class 2s are racing with some of the Class 1 drivers, the new guys or drivers that might be having a few issues. That was a brief look at the front of the Restoracing class, as through on the inside line of Steve Cheetham now goes Mark McAleer. Mark having a very frustrating start to the season at Donington Park with that retirement in race number 1, a non-start in race 2, but seemingly looking a lot happier here, Mark McAleer. Although not as far up the grid as he would like to have been. But I remind you that Mark McAleer is made of stern stuff, and he had a similar start to the season last year. And by the end of the year, had a resilient campaign, and by the end of the year was challenging the eventual champion, Mark Sumpter, to the title as they came to the final round of the year. And the one thing you know about Mark McAleer is that he won't give up without a fight. There's Andy Toon, another former champion. 8th and 5th for him in the opening 2 races of the year, but it's Simon Clark out front from Kevin Harrison. 3rd place is Craig Wilkins. The car's greatly enjoying the run from Sheen Curve down to where our camera's placed here at Stirling's, Ben, which then brings them back onto the Indy circuit. This is such a fine piece of racing. There's Ben McLaughlin going through. Ben's actually, as I mentioned earlier on, enjoying having a little bit of race with some of the Class 2 runners, and that will put a bit of breathing space between himself and the chasers in the Restoracing category. Restoracing having attained full championship status for this year after its first season. That's the way things work in Motorsport UK. Mark McAleer coming under pressure from Steve Cheetham, and Steve taking a slightly wider line going through into Graham Hill Bend. Along Cooper Straight they go. Michael Price being challenged by Craig Wilkins, and Pete Morris actually down behind Michael Price now, so Pete not looking the happiest after taking the opening race win of the year. There's the 32 car, Christian Short, challenging the 39 of Ollie Coles, the Porsche Centre Swindon runner, going a little bit wide. They have to be mindful of track limits. And 46, which is Wayne Minogue taking over from Ashley White, who ran in the Donington Park round in the Porsche Centre Nottingham Restoracing car, had a retirement and a 4th place, so certainly the equipment is there to do the job. But Wayne Minogue, you might remember, we spoke to in the one of the standalone races last year for the Restoracing category. And this Wayne very much a driver learning his trade. We do have some experienced drivers in the Restoracing Championship, but by and large they are newcomers, and that's what Porsche have done to encourage drivers in. As we watch Michael Price challenging for second in the inset there on Kevin Harrison, so we've got a good battle for second. Simon Clark still looking very handy out front, and we'll have more for you from Brands Hatch after the break. Second position fight going on. Well, not quite a fight, there's a bit of gap, isn't there, at the moment, for Paul Seagrave in the yellow, red and black car up ahead of the white machine of Trevor Lewis. Then James Cayley in the Class 1 997. 2 top 10 finishes for James at Donington Park, and a really good example going on of inter-class battling. Meanwhile, this is an overall battle for second place, and Kevin Harrison coming under pressure from Michael Price. Still in front though is Simon Clark in the Cayman. So it's Cayman from 996 and 997, but big pressure being applied by Michael Price at the moment. Remember, Price qualified second on the grid. Very strong qualifier as well at Donington Park, but had 2 non-starts after engine problems, but he's got those sorted. And his season is very much underway now, with podium pace being shown here. Ross Morris goes out of shot, the class leader. Seagrave and Lewis ahead of Cayley. Then it's the blue 45 of, I beg your pardon, the blue 68 of Steve Freeman, our onboard car. And behind them, Ben McLaughlin, who's up amongst the Class 2s. And a good battle going on here with Carl Hazelton, plus the 49 of Stephen Shaw, the Shaw Aid, one of the Porsche preparation centres in the mix as well, plus the Porsche Centre Bolton car of Mike Thompson. As we go back to the machines battling it out for second place, with Harrison at the moment having a bit of respite because Craig Wilkins starting to put pressure on Michael Price for second place. We watch from Hawthorne's Bend as they come down Pilgrim's Drop, up Hawthorne's Hill into Hawthorne's Corner. Michael Price, I think, has maybe seen that off at the moment, is getting stuck back in again to Kevin Harrison as they head down into Westfield, the right-hander. Here we are on the exit of Westfield, pointing down towards Dingledale. Superb piece of racetrack, and look at that, looking on the inside line of Dingledale there, a little bit twitchy with Steve Cheetham. We've got, that's Jamie Woods in the Premier Panel Skills car, which was on the podium at Donington Park and having some issues, but very generously pulling well clear to allow the overall race leaders through. And this is a fine battle going on for second place. It is allowing Simon Clark to get away. It's not to say that Simon Clark wouldn't have got away otherwise. He was a clear pole position setter this morning, so really doing what he did in qualifying, but in race spec now. And moving away. His time's around about 3/4 of a second away from qualifying pace. Steve Freeman closing in on Trevor Lewis. So this is the Class 2 podium battle going on. And Paul Seagrave at the head of that at the moment, with that little bit of a cushion with James Cayley right behind him, but Cayley may be able to use that extra power to go past. Ollie Cole's coming under pressure here from Christian Short. Almost tempted to say Will Heslop, because so used to seeing Will racing that car, but Christian Short coming in. He's got a little bit of racing experience as Christian Short. An issue there for Mark McCulloch in the Porsche Centre Hatfield car going on to the grass on the sort of Clearways Oval section. I bet it's been a while since anyone's referred to that as the Clearways Oval. It's a shame they don't reinstate the Clearways Oval, because they could use that for some fast short track racing. Back we look at this though, huge gaggle of cars all dicing over second position overall in the race. This is a classic Class 1 battle going on here, and Kevin Harrison is under big pressure. Meanwhile, Simon Clark is getting away, and it is an orderly queue at the moment behind the second place man. Some fine racing going on here. Right the way back to Andy Toon chasing championship leader, remember, Chris Dyer. Dyer leads the championship by 1 point from Jake McAleer coming here to Brands Hatch. Steve Cheetham, I thought, was going to have a look at the inside line, but Craig Wilkins grabs the line from him. Peter Morris is in behind them, and Cheetham exploring all the different lines to try and come through, and goes on the inside line here now and gets through, or does he? Cheetham is through. Steve Cheetham makes the move and manages to pass Craig Wilkins, who's on the outside line now. Wilkins has got work to do. Pete Morris has got up ahead of him as well. So it's all changing this front order. All of them squabbling over podium positions. Mark McAleer in the mix there as well. Wayne Minogue having a super battle here with Christian Short. Minogue taking over the 46 car from Ashley White at this meeting, as Steve Freeman is busy working hard there and gets the gas down on the... No, I think that was the fact that he got the gas down early. The wheels were on the curbs and a gyration. That was a shame, because he was dicing for a podium position there. And Steve Freeman, collecting his thoughts, gets the car back into gear and will set off once again. But that's not done him any favours at all in terms of a Class 2 podium. Ross Morris still leading the class at the minute. And this is the second place battle. Simon Clark might watch the footage back and say, didn't see much of me in this one, Governor. Actually, he doesn't say Governor, but we're really focusing on this, as Michael Price has now been passed by Steve Cheetham. Very clearly, we've got Cayman first and Cayman third now, so obviously well suited to the track, being well driven too. Nice to see Mark McCulloch back on track as well. Through shot goes Trevor Lewis. There is Paul Seagrave, and Kevin Molyneux is there as well. Kevin back with us, retirement in race 1 at Donington Park. Great to see him in the championship. James Cayley passes the 22. Mark McCulloch allows him through. Trevor Lewis still on for a good finish, a potential podium here once again, as Christian Short still hassles Wayne Minogue. Wayne, as you can see from the cross on the back of the car, newcomer into motorsport, and no doubt enjoying his racing. We've got three more newcomers in the mix as well there. The 600, the gold livery, the Warsteiner livery of Simon Ruffle-Ward, the Porsche Centre Leeds machine that we saw being driven by John Tordoff at Donington Park. And remember, it is the centre where you've got a shared drive. It's the centre that scores the points rather than the drivers having individual points themselves. Julian Morris is in behind the Elite Motors number 10. Julian 6 in retirement at Donington Park, and busy chasing Simon Ruffle-Ward at the moment. So a good battle going on between those two in the Restoracing class. down behind them, Paul Blakesy in the green Porsche Centre Cambridge car, taking over from James Cannon, who had 7th and 5th at Donington Park. Meanwhile, Kevin Molyneux up ahead of Paul Seagrave. So Kevin Molyneux here looking good for a podium. Trevor Lewis goes through second, Molyneux third at the moment. Paul Seagrave is fourth in class. Then it is Ben McLaughlin, the leader of the Restoracing class, as Ross Morris goes through. Quick brief look at our Class 2 race leader, who's got that little bit of a cushion at the moment ahead of the 50 car of James Cayley in his 997. And Ben McLaughlin, they might be even thinking about adding more weight to Ben McLaughlin's car. A little bit of traffic ensuing. Stephen Shaw, another new driver, being overwhelmed by Class 2 and Class 1 machines. Three-way scrap now on for second place in the Restoracing, and Wayne Minogue soaking up the pressure here from a driver, Christian Short, who does have a little bit more racing experience. So this is an excellent drive for Wayne Minogue, and he's looking for his first podium here as well, Wayne. So driving well. But look at this battle going on now as down the inside line here, side by side they go, and Steve Cheetham was battling for second, and that's a nasty knock onto the barrier. Let's hope he doesn't come back onto the track. It was bad enough for Steve Cheetham. What a good attacking drive from the Lodge Sports Racing prepared and entered Cayman, but sadly winds up with the spin. And you've got to say that Steve Cheetham was trying so hard to get past and has given us some good entertainment in this race. Now, is that going to be a retirement for Steve Cheetham? I suspect it probably will. They'll want to check the car over. Harry Steve has got it going at a fair old pace again. We'll see whether he does peel off into pit lane. This is the battle for second in the Restoracing Championship. Wayne Minogue still holding sway at the moment ahead of Christian Short. Ross Morris, the Class 2 leader. There in white is the second place car, the 66 machine, second place in the championship as well for Trevor Lewis. This is a very impressive run for Lewis. Wayne Minogue, beg your pardon, not Wayne Minogue, Ben McLaughlin busy chasing Paul Seagrave, and having a very good look there as well was Paul Blakesy, trying to close down on Simon Ruffell Ward. There's Matt Kyle Henney in the 25 car. Matt's second outing with us, running 6th in class at the moment, Matt Kyle Henney, and pretty much on par with what he did at Donington Park. But what an opportunity to race at Donington in your first ever meeting and then come to Brands Hatch GP. Blue flags being waved for the Restoracing competitors, and in the mix we've got Kevin Harrison, who is still there, with Craig Wilkins, who's had something of a recovery. So Wilkins in the mix, but it's Harrison coming through from Wilkins, then Pete Morris. Michael Price is there as well. I tell you what, the Resto boys keeping it on the outside line as best they can. So it's Harrison still in second place now. Third position is still Craig Wilkins, looking for a podium on his first outing of the season here for Wilkins. And now these Class 1 runners, the overall leaders, getting clear of the traffic, or most of the traffic. James Cayley goes through, Trevor Lewis third, Kevin Molyneux in fourth place, followed by Scott Adams. He's in the Porsche Centre Cardiff machine, and Scott having his second meeting with us, was 14th in his first outing and made the top 10 in race 2 at Donington Park in class, so well done to him. Ben McLaughlin, fastest lap in class for him as the leading runners come through. Michael Price and Mark McAleer still busy chasing Pete Morris. It's such a busy track behind. There in the 44 is Jake McAleer, second in the championship. It's going to be a shake-up in the championship table after this race for sure. Simon Clark was 5th in the table. He's going to improve on that here. Well, before the break, I was just thinking about championship points. Without a doubt, Simon Clark, if he hangs on, is going to up the ante here. It's all about consistency over all of the rounds throughout the season, and this the battle for second place. It was Michael Price who was challenging for second earlier on, dropped back down the order a wee bit. We've got all the big guns in that group there, all still together as we come into the closing stages of the race, and this is what Porsche Club Championship racing is all about. Looking to the outside line there is Paul Blakesy, trying to make up a place in the Restoracing class. And now you can see a change for second place. The Pink Pig has gone through. Christian Short into second, Wayne Minogue in third. Ollie Coles is in fourth position. Ollie, another driver with a little bit of experience, raced in the MG Trophy and enjoying his racing, as Michael Price now is back to challenging for second place. Price right in the mix, and they're closing down on the podium battle in the Restoracing Championship. So Michael Price has cleared Craig Wilkins. Wilkins off the podium, Price fighting back in the 997. And having a look there on the outside line as they go into clearways, we just dip back a little bit. Sam Beckett there in the 21, Simon Ruppel-Ward, then the number 80 of Paul Blakesy, running in the Restoracing Championship, right in the mix. Through the middle of those cars goes Mark McAleer with a move to the outside line now, and trying to make a move around the outside line. Christian Short still second. That's the Pink Pig running in the Restoracing class. It looks like he's clear now. He's got 3 or 4 Class 1 machines between himself and Wayne Minogue. Wayne in the white 46 car. Chris Dyer about to go through. Championship leader. Will he lose the championship lead after this race, Chris Dyer? First outright win for him at Donington Park. There is Simon Clark. Simon puts the pass on Matt Kyle Henney, who's on his way to some good Class 2 points. But hats off to Simon Clark here. There's Ben McLaughlin, leader of the Restoracing class, and is in 16th position overall, and has Class 1 and Class 2 cars behind him. Steve Freeman, one of the Class 2 cars behind him. That's obviously after his spin earlier on. So past Scott Adams in the Cardiff car goes the race lead. Look at the lead that Simon Clark has got here. Very, very good lead indeed. He was the first man to win in the Cayman in this championship. Remember, at the tail end of last year. Second Cayman win coming last time out for Chris Dyer. So it looks like we're going to see a third win for the Cayman in this competition. Now, as the battle for second place hots up, and Mike Price, who has shown a spirited fight back in this race, was he 5th or 6th at one stage? He's now coming up into second place on the inside line of Kevin Harrison. Through goes Simon Clark. We look back and Price is through past Kevin Harrison into second position. Harrison now defending from Craig Wilkins, who looks to the outside line. Wilkins coming under pressure from Pete Morris. Then it's Mark McAleer. McAleer's going to be relieved to grab some first points on the board in this race for sure. And Mike Price coming under pressure again for second. Meanwhile, at the other end of Cooper Straight, the race leader Simon Clark still there. There is Ross Morris going through shot. We've got all 3 Class 2 cars together on track and in shot together. That shows how close Class 2 was. Ross Morris was away in the early stages of this one, but I think they've closed the gap on him, as into Hawthorns for the last time goes the race leader Simon Clark. It is looking like a relatively secure second place now for Michael Price, who's built a gap over Kevin Harrison. Matt Kyle Henney sticks to the inside line. Fair play to him. Julian Morris is about to be passed by Sam Beckett in the 21. That's the car that Alistair Nelson took to the podium in race 2 at Donington Park. But Michael Price in second position. Carl Hazelton in the Porsche Centre Chester machine is pulling to the outside line, but looking to record a second career win in the Porsche Club Championship is Simon Clark, who takes the checkered flag some 5.5 seconds clear of Mike Price, who takes second place. Pete Morris was gunning for 4th, but it was Clark from Price and Harrison, Craig Wilkins, Pete Morris in 5th, Mark McAleer in 6th, but a delighted Simon Clark will have to work the points out, and a late spin for Sam Beckett just in front of Julian Morris, and then Simon Ruffle-Ward. He's got one of the drive wheels in the dirt. That could be game over for Sam Beckett. I think he's going to wind up there. That's going to be a non-classification for him, very, very sadly. Here comes Ross Morris, though, leader of Class 2 here, and will pick up a third win, along with Ben McLaughlin, unbeaten in class, and he'll be looking for 4 on the bounce in race 2. But Ross Morris upholding family honours there. Ben McLaughlin leading in the Restoracing class as well, and challenging Paul Seagrave as Ross Morris takes his win. Paul Seagrave, incidentally, is 4th in class. Ross Morris winning it from Trevor Lewis, Kevin Molyneux 3rd, Paul Seagrave 4th, and Ben McLaughlin is going to take not the outright win, but the win for Restoracing for Porsche Centre Bournemouth, with Christian Short coming 2nd in class. Here's confirmation of the result. Simon Clark from Michael Price and Kevin Harrison, Craig Wilkins and Pete Morris. Well, next up, Class 2 won by Ross Morris, and Ross ahead of 2nd position in class Trevor Lewis and Kevin Molyneux. Ben McLaughlin winning the Restoracing from Christian Short and Wayne Minogue. Straight on to race number 2, which again sees Simon Clark on pole, Michael Price alongside, Peter Morris on row 2 with Kevin Harrison, Craig Wilkins row 3 with Jake McAleer. In class 2, it's Ross Morris who heads the field ahead of Paul Seagrave, and then Trevor Lewis from Steve Freeman and Kevin Molyneux. The Restoracing category, once again, headed by Ben McLaughlin, with Wayne Minogue after a podium in race number 1, joining him on the front row of the grid, Christian Short and Jamie Woods on row 2. Wet conditions here, though. That threatened downpour happened. It's a good start by Simon Clark once again, and away we go. Ross Morris leading the way, but not that quickly in class 2, because Steve Freeman to his outside. So Freeman's made a good start. We're on board with Freeman, challenging for the lead of class 2, and Ross Morris to the inside line spins, and I think Freeman might have gone with him. They're all squirrely through Druids. That's going to be a safety car straight away here at Brands Hatch, because those cars are in a prone position for sure. The class 1 goes a long lap, so they've got time to sort themselves out. As Mark McAleer is there, we've got one of the Restoracing cars off the circuit as well. It's possibly Sam Beckett in the Wilmslow car, the number 21. There's the onboard from Steve Freeman, who did wind up in the gravel, and that's 2 of our front runners in class 2 who are in the gravel on lap 1, and the pace of the cars here you can see now being dictated by the fact that it is a full course caution, and the safety car will be scrambled onto the circuit to lead the race leader, Simon Clark. Gives us a little bit of time to reflect on the championship points update after race number 1. Not that we wanted a safety car period, but it does give us the opportunity to reflect on the mathematics we did after race number 1. I can tell you that it is Simon Clark who now leads the championship. He's on 93 points, so has leapt up from 5th in the standings into the lead. 2nd place is now jointly shared by Chris Dyer and Pete Morris, as we watch the 2 stricken cars with the rescue crew on scene, and they will clear those. You can see literally just off track. They've got to clear those cars to enable the race to safely resume. Going through shot there is Andy Toon and Jake McAleer. Jake is 4th in the championship, so a tie for 2nd between Pete Morris and Chris Dyer on 86 points. 3 points shy is Jake McAleer, who we just saw, and then Kevin Harrison in 5th place on 82 points. So rescue continues of those 2 cars. Kevin Harrison 5th in the championship, and looks like we're going to get another lap of safety car here. Simon Clark, you can see the track conditions. We were talking about the fact that at the start of the meeting we had bright sunshine. The rescue vehicle just pulling away safety now, so I reckon this could be our last lap behind the safety car. Blazing sunshine earlier on in the day, and the forecast told us there was a threat of rain in the air, and we had a couple of bursts of rain over the lunch break. and it's left the track late in the afternoon for us here very wet and slippery. And I tell you what, if there was one combination that I would personally, as a driver, not want to do, it would be a Porsche in the wet on the Grand Prix circuit at Brands Hatch. There is Steve Freeman, recovered out of the gravel. He's going to get back into pit lane and will most likely get the car checked over. Safety car lights are still on. They're heading down through Pilgrim's Drop, up Hawthorne Hill into Hawthorne's Corner where they are now. Jake McAleer goes through. There is Chris Dyer, joint second in the championship. And the Class 2 leader is Matt Kyle Henney. How about that? Matt Kyle Henney came through that first lap and is in the Class 2 lead in only his third motor race. That is going to be a big moment for him, and he's going to be very keen to look in his mirrors and drive a good solid race here to try and bring the car home to a podium, maybe a first podium in the offing for him. Who knows, maybe even a class win as Simon Clark leads them down into Stirling's Bend, the 90-degree left-hander, which brings them on the run down into Clearways and back onto the Indy circuit. Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. This is part of the Blancpain GT meeting, and GT meetings the ideal ones for the full circuit, because during the longer races you've got a great opportunity to walk around the entire venue and soak up the circuit. Safety car in. We are Petro Canada Lubricants Porsche Club Championship with Pirelli Racing once again, and the race leader is Simon Clark. Pace not too different from behind the safety car, but Simon Clark leads them away from the number 11 of Craig Wilkins. Then it's Michael Price. Steve Cheetham in the mix there up ahead of Jake McAleer, followed by Andy Toon. And we'll have more for you after the break. Simon Clark must be fancied for a double win here. Dry condition win in race number 1, and not thoroughly wet at the moment as we watch Paul Blakesley in the Porsche Centre Cambridge machine running higher up in this race than he did in race number 1. Was 8th in class in race number 1 and much further up the order. We'll see how his race develops. I think I called the red car in the gravel at Druids wrong, because Sam Beckett is there in 21. Apologies to Sam and the Porsche Centre Wilmslow team. It's a top 10 in class finish for him in race number 1, and could be again here in race number 2 as we watch Paul Seagrave ahead of Kevin Molyneux. Kevin with his first finish in the championship. Off there has gone James Woods in the Premier Panel Skills car, just to the right of shot. Kevin Molyneux's first finish in the championship, taking a podium in class 2 in race number 1. Looking to build on that here in race number 2. And there in 43, Steve Cheetham. The team have done a very good job to get Steve out. The Cayman looking very handy indeed in this race. He was certainly on a charge in race number 1, and he's mixing it here with Kevin Harrison, who took 3rd in race number 1. A hard-earned podium for Kevin after race-long pressure from Michael Price, who again is in podium position here. Michael with his first finish of the season, of course, and Steve Cheetham takes a spin. This is worrying because we've got traffic coming towards him. He's managed to keep it to the inside of the track, but a worrying moment nonetheless. I wonder whether the back-end damage from race 1 has contributed to maybe the car being a little bit skittish here for Steve Cheetham, but let's hope he can recover, get back on track, and there are still some points to be gained for Steve in this race. Pete Morris up ahead of Kevin Harrison. 3 goes Paul Seagrave and Steve Freeman in blue. Now Steve is in the race, but won't be classified as a finisher because he was extricated from the gravel, but he's paid his entry fee, so he's quite entitled to come out and enjoy his laps here on the Grand Prix circuit here at Brands Hatch. 3 on the inside line of Del Brett goes Steve Cheetham, so Steve making up a class 1 position there. Porsche Centre Bolton car number 6, Mike Thompson, the blue livery, goes through, continuing his form in the top 10 in the Restoracing class. First race he was 12th, but since then he's been ever present. Looks like another top 10 in the offing for Mike and the Bolton car here. So the Wally's Jeans, another classic, some real iconic liveries here, and was watching qualifying on the bank this morning, and a lot of the spectators were picking out the Lewis, exactly what Porsche wanted, sort of recounting where the liveries came from and which drivers had them back in the day. Look at this scrap for second place overall. Craig Wilkins coming under pressure from Michael Price. Michael's done everything here at this meeting. We've seen him defend, we've seen him attack, we've seen him overtake. He was, I think, maybe the guy who did the most overtaking in race number 1. Qualified on the front, looks on the inside line there of Craig Wilkins, but Craig has got that covered coming along the main straight. Michael Price forced to maybe look wide into Paddock Hill Bend. The outside line at Paddock in a Porsche in the wet, probably not doable, but I was thinking he might go for a cut back on the inside, but at the moment that's not the case. Simon Clark continues to lead from Craig Wilkins, then Michael Price. And I was starting to talk about where Michael Price was in the race. We'll come back to Michael Price from points a little bit later on, because this is a three-way battle for second place again in the Restoracing category. How great is it to see those three cars? And again, I think that's something we're going to have to come back to. Alistair Isles up ahead of Stephen Shaw. Shaw-Raid machine, non-finisher in race number 1, but on for a top 10 here. Sam Beckett goes through shot, and there is Kevin Molyneux. And okay, so here's the Restoracing battle. Christian Short from Wayne Minogue and Paul Blakesley, who looks around the outside line here as Wayne Minogue looks down the inside of Christian Short, challenging for second place. The Pig Pig is under pressure, and Paul Blakesley is very much in the mix here as well, but Wayne Minogue's challenging on the inside line, not content with third in race number 1, goes second, and Paul Blakesley going for the burn up round the outside. Blakesley's he's still held the grip on the outside line as Minogue goes wide and drops back from second to fourth. Back up into third goes Christian Short, but what a manoeuvre by Paul Blakesley in the Cambridge car. Goes through into second. Wayne Minogue recovers, passes Christian Short to go back into second place. Meanwhile, James Woods has a spin. Watch the concrete. A glance. I thought that was going to be worse. It was bad enough. It is so tricky out there. Remember, we've got so many new drivers in the Restoracing category, as now off goes Sam Beckett, the Wilmslow car, into the barrier. Sadly, hopefully we'll get going and possibly rejoin the race from there. Ollie Cole's having a good dice with Steve Freeman. Remember, Steve was off in the gravel, so won't be in contention for overall honours. In Class 2, led by Trevor Lewis at the moment in white, up ahead of Matt Kyle Henney, who was the leader behind the safety car, but Trevor Lewis has got into the lead. Matt Kyle Henney, I was speculating whether a first podium could be in the offing. The way he's driving at the moment, looking very good indeed, as the race leaders close up and start to get a little bit of traffic. And it's the Porsche Centre Bolton car they're going to happen on first. Back with our podium fight in amongst all of the Restoracing cars. Fourth position still with Christian Short. And Wayne Minogue looks like he's going to grab a second career podium here. Sam Beckett up ahead of Julian Morris, and then the race leaders wanting to come through. Simon Clark. I tell you what, the leaders were close in race 1. They're close again here. Certainly the race leader, Simon Clark, not as far ahead by any stretch of the imagination as he was in race number 1, and Craig Wilkins trying everything that he can to close in on the race leader. Michael Price is third, then it's Pete Morris, followed by Kevin Harrison. Andy Toon is running in 6th place and still in touch with the lead group as well, so a good effort here by Andy Toon. I reckon now that Pete Morris will go second in the championship, we'll have to do all the mathematics a little bit later on. Paul Seagrave keeps it to the inside line. That was great driving by Paul Seagrave, who allows them through. So down across the line once again, Seagrave sticking to that inside. Good respectful driving from Paul in the 45 car. Obviously wants to bring his machine home, maybe for, I think, 4th position in class at the moment for Paul Seagrave. Mark McCulloch about to put a pass here on James Woods, so the Hatfield car passing the Premier Panel Skills car. Lots of dicing in the Restoracing order as Kevin Harrison starts to put pressure, and look at them having to weave their way through the traffic here with Michael Price in third, coming under pressure from Pete Morris. And at the moment it is still Simon Clark, the race leader, clear of Craig Wilkins in second position. Here comes the 43 of Steve Cheetham. Class 2 leader still there is Trevor Lewis, and it looks like Trevor is going to pick up a first win in the category with 11th place overall, and will take the championship lead here as the leaders again encounter some more traffic. Blue flags waved. Top two have gone through okay now, and as they pass Mike Thompson, one to the inside, one to the outside. Mike Price went on the outside line. Peter Morris fancied his chances of going third, couldn't quite get through, and still leading the race is Simon Clark, who is going to make it a double here at Brands Hatch. You can see Paul Seagrave coming under a little bit of pressure there from Steve Freeman, and Steve is racing, but is a couple of laps adrift after that safety car incident, and but enjoying his time on tarmac as the race leaders head towards the checkered flag, and it's a double win for Simon Clark. Craig Wilkins is second. Wait for the third place car. There's Michael Price completing the overall podium. Some fine racing going on down the order. Carl Hazelton is passed by Paul Seagrave. Paul, as I said, I think running 32nd of the runners, but won't be classified. Ben McLaughlin, we got a quick look of there, is leading the Restoracing category, and it's Paul Blakesley still in second place. I think that's going to be a best for Paul. Steve Cheetham recovered from his problem. It's going to be 8th place for him. And, well, through goes Mark McAleer picking up points. Thumbs up from those guys. Still got some racing on as Matt Kyle Henney is going to take second position in class. You saw there. There is Paul Blakesley. This is the battle for third. Wayne Minogue still there at the moment, up ahead of Christian Short. Christian trying to close in, so they've still got half a lap or so around Brands Hatch to go. Del Brett crosses the line in the 59 car. Del finishing in 13th position, and still the Restoracing podium battle continues. Christian Short trying to close in. Wayne Minogue looking for a second career podium. He's had one in the dry, he's going to get another one in the wet. Here comes Paul Blakesley, who will take second position. Ben McLaughlin won the Restoracing class, and Paul Blakesley taking second, and it was Wayne Minogue just ahead of Christian Short for third position in the Restoracing. But here's the overall result. Simon Clark from Craig Wilkins and Michael Price. Peter Morris fourth from Kevin Harrison. Andy Toon, son and father McAleer's Jake, and of course the 14 car of Mark McAleer next up. Class 2 won by Trevor Lewis from Matt Kyle Henney. Kevin Molyneux is in third. Confirmation of the Restoracing Championship result as well. Ben McLaughlin ahead of Paul Blakesley, then Wayne Minogue and Christian Short. Simon Ruff Award from Mike Thompson. Fastest lap once again to Ben McLaughlin. Championship table looks like this. Simon Clark leading from Peter Morris, Kevin Harrison third, then Chris Dyer and Jake McAleer. Andy Toon next up from Steve Cheetham. In Class 2, it's Trevor Lewis that leads from Ross Morris and Paul Seagrave. Matt Kyle Henney next up from Steve Freeman. Kevin Molyneux in 6th from Angus Archer. Richard Baiston, Max Wolstenholm and Mark Horton. The Restoracing Championship headed by Ben McLaughlin from William Heslop, Christian Short, James Cannon and Paul Blakesley. That's it for today here at Brands Hatch. We're back at Brands on the Indy circuit in July. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.